Participants shoot at these targets, aiming for the small zone worth 10 points, followed by the larger zones worth 9 and 8 points, and everywhere else on the deer is 5 points. After the break, I'm Andrew Freed and I'll tell you all about the Boulder Bash event here at the Rec Center. After the break, I'm Andrew Freed and I'll tell you about the 45th anniversary celebration of Bridge Day and why you should mark it on your calendars for next year. The rules are simple. You got to sink your opponents using these water buckets, all while staying afloat yourself. And don't forget, gotta have good sportsmanship. The annual Adventure WV Boulder Bash climbing competition may pit climbers against each other to see who can climb a given route the fastest. But organizers say it's also a chance to build community around a sport that's hit some snags in Morgantown lately. I'm Andrew Freed, and coming up after the break, I'll tell you about the Healing Appalachia Festival right here in Lewisburg, West Virginia. The rifle deer hunting season hasn't started in Pennsylvania just yet. That comes at the end of November. But in eager anticipation, this town in southwestern PA holds a friendly competition. These climbers are dealing with some seriously tough walls. You can see the grit and focus on their faces. One slip, and it's back to the mats. But for them, it's all part of the thrill. Quarterback Daniel Jones has put together a solid campaign through 5 weeks, and he's looking like an MVP quarterback. Averaging 14.9 points per game, that's somehow a higher average than Patrick Mahomes has right now. Battleship was once played with pencil and paper before being adapted in the early 60s to the more modern plastic version we know today. The WVU Rec Center, however, is once again adapting the game. This time, straight onto the water. From base jumping to local vendors, the celebration here at the New River Gorge Bridge has excitement and fun for everyone. After the break, I'm Andrew Freed, and I'll tell you how this big buck is in danger and how you can earn points for shooting it. While the final 2024 numbers are still being tallied, last year's participants came from 35 states and 4 countries. About 40 minutes up I-79 for Morgantown, the Mariana Field and Stream Sporting Deer Rifle Shoot takes place once a year. 16-year-old Gunnar Wass says it's not his first time shooting a rifle, but it was his first time participating in the competition.
Just the people here. It's always nice. Everyone's a good sport. Even though you're competing against each other, they'll help you out if you need it. They'll give you tips and pointers, just whatever you need.
For 12 years now, the community has set aside their responsibilities for a day to have fun at this friendly competition. Participants shoot at these targets, aiming for the small zone worth 10 points, followed by the larger zones worth 9 and 8 points, and everywhere else on the deer is 5 points. Scores are collected after each round and tallied up for a total at the end of the day. And the organizers say participation is only growing.
It's grown a little bit every year. I mean, I think last year we had 52, 54 shooters. We're probably looking for that many this year.
Participants ranged in age from as young as 11 up to their 50s and 60s. It's the classic board game of Battleship, but with a twist. Students from across WVU came together to compete in the live-action version in canoes at the Rec Center pool.
It's just one of those things that's just different and fun and something that just gives, like, it's exciting versus competitive. So it's both things all together.
In Battleship, the board game, you want to have the most ships afloat at the end of the game. Canoe Battleship has the same goal. The rules are simple. You got to sink your opponents using these water buckets, all while staying afloat yourself. And don't forget, got to have good sportsmanship. Teams receive points for good sportsmanship, like cheering on their fellow competitors. You cannot remove any of the water from your boat as play progresses. And while this may be a contest, participants say it's also a positive experience for the students who play.
It's good team building, because when you're in that canoe with your team, you're trying to talk to them, build them up, tell them what to do, make sure they're all going on the same page.
5 teams competed in the 2024 Canoe Battleship Tournament, and Panazzi says he'll be back again next year. For Mountaineer Playbook, I'm Andrew Freed. The Boulder Bash is a competition for climbers of any level. Participants have 3 hours to complete as many routes as they can in the fewest attempts possible. While this may be an intense competition, organizers say community involvement is what the event's all about.
Probably the key goal with this and most of the comps is just kind of community building and morale. The local climbing gym Gritstone closed a few years ago, and so we're kind of the only wall now in the area. And so we just kind of want to keep the climbing community alive through events like this.
Each route is worth 10 points, and climbers can only use the corresponding color holds to move through the climb, and they must put both hands on the final hold for 2 controlled seconds. These climbers are dealing with some seriously tough walls. You can see the grit and focus on their faces. One slip, and it's back to the mats. But for them, it's all part of the thrill. With such an extreme sport like rock climbing, you have to be at your physical best. And for some, taking the climb can help you get there.
I started rock climbing when I was in Boy Scouts as a kid, and then I kind of fell out of it, and then I got back to school here, and I had torn my meniscus in my knee, and climbing was a way to rehab that and get me back on my feet, because it happened right before I left for school, and so I kind of was hobbling around Morgantown until starting this.
Essenmacher says he plans on participating in future boulder events here at WVU. As the rock climbing community continues to grow here in Morgantown, Tuggle is hopeful for the future of these events here.